probably among those that are most affected in the world, even though being responsible for very little, if not a fraction, of global emissions. And then, as has been mentioned by a number of the leaders, there is the fluctuation in the price of oil that has been brought on by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So we want to partner with you on this issue of energy security, including what we can do around increasing the deployment of clean energy, including what we can do on the issue of enhancing resilience to climate change. And as I may have mentioned earlier, I'm pleased that we are able to launch an initiative to support the Caribbean on the climate resilience issue and the energy security issue at the Summit of the Americas in June. So that is our full intention. And some of the initial thoughts about the priority in that regard will be a focus on developing the critical infrastructure, which of course is about the support in terms of the funding to do that, but also with a full appreciation that that's also about job training and creation. The training component has been mentioned earlier, that obviously is training on a wide range of what we must do in terms of enhancing human resources, but that is one area. Facilitating access to financing for clean energy projects and improving regulatory environments. So I would ask in preparation for the summit that you give us your ideas on how we can make this initiative meaningful. And again, I will emphasize that in addition to what is the opportunity for building up and addressing the economy through the building up of clean energy economies and resilience, there is so much about the green energy economy that is also, and clean energy economy that is also about the training of engineers, of mathematicians, of electricians, of people who have highly developed skills that can translate in a number of ways. And so I'd like us to talk and think about that. And with that, I'm going to turn to Prime Minister Browne from Antigua to talk a bit about how you are thinking about this topic. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. I had a brief bout of COVID-19 2 weeks ago, despite being inoculated and boosted. So I empathize with you and wish you a full recovery.
I appreciate you, thank you.
You know, our jobs by their very nature demand that we meet with many groups of people, exposing ourselves to possible infection. And that is why the provision of COVID-19 vaccines must be global public good, accessible to all, and obviously at affordable prices. And we must all work to achieving this noble objective in the shortest possible time. Vice President, I know that I should be speaking mostly on the issue of climate change, but you know, I have to use the opportunity to speak about the most urgent and critical issue confronting all Caribbean countries, and that is the post-COVID economic recovery. I need not rehearse the huge damage to economies, including the loss of jobs and the expansion of poverty. But I emphasize the huge debt burden that many of us had to incur to keep our economies afloat and our societies stable. Repayment of debt has now narrowed fiscal space to the extent that we lack resources to stimulate economic activity, to reduce unemployment, and at the same time to provide for the vulnerable. In these conditions, our achievement of the SDGs will be protracted, and we will face greater poverty, increased crime and violence, political instability, and more than likely, more irregular migration, particularly to the shores of the United States. I repeat our urgent call for the establishment of a program of debt relief, including debt forgiveness and debt restructuring. The U.S. could also assist us by reallocating its unused SDRs, or some of its unused SDRs, to facilitate an additional SDR allocation. Vice President, our already dire situation, which was exacerbated by COVID, is further worsened by the prevailing increase in global prices, primarily the high price for oil and food, And I just wish to note here that Venezuela has indicated a willingness to introduce a new version of Petrocaribbean. However, we need a carve-out from the US sanctions, even temporarily, so that we could avail ourselves of this opportunity, recognizing the escalation in petrol prices globally. Vice President, no sector of our economies is being spared. And there has been a spike in the cost of our production of goods and services, including tourism, that gravely endangers our competitiveness and our revenues. In this connection, we appeal to your government not only to release more of its oil reserves to help reduce the price of oil, but also to encourage increased production by countries with the capacity so to do. This may mean a temporary relaxation of your policy to disincentivize fossil fuel production, a policy that we fully support to reduce emissions. But a balance must be struck between action to curb emissions and measures to maintain global economic stability.